Paperhouse is a British dark fantasy released in 1988, directed by Bernard Rose.
It's the story of a young girl called Anna, who we first meet her at school, and she's kind of kicked out of the classroom for messing about a bit, and then she collapses she faints on the floor. So her mother comes to pick her up, and then on the way home she says, "Oh, I was faking it." So she'll kept that to herself, really. Anyway, she goes back to school, and then it happens again on the way home. She's with a friend, and again, she sort of blacks out. And while she's blacked out, she sort of imagines or dreams this house, which happens to look very similar to a house that she's drawn, I think, while she was in class on a piece of paper. So it's got like wonky walls and odd windows and weird sort of stone sort of monoliths outside, isn't it? Yeah, so that's a bit weird, but obviously at first you just think, okay, she's just sort of dreaming. But then she starts to become more unwell, and they don't really know what's wrong with her. Doctor comes and sort of takes her temperature and gives her some medicine, etc. But she, every time she then goes to sleep, she goes to this house, and she keeps adding to this drawing. So then she draws a sort of sad face in the window, and then when she's just asleep, she goes to the house, and there's a boy up there, but he can't come downstairs because, well, there aren't any stairs because she hasn't drawn any, and she also hasn't drawn him any legs. So he does have legs, it's not that horrific,
No.
But he can't use them. She then starts to sort of realise that, hold on, this house that I'm drawing in real life, I'm dreaming about it, and what my drawing affects this dream or this fantasy land or whatever. She keeps adding to it and gives him things to do and stuff like that. And then it kind of gets a bit sinister with the sort of her father. Her father's mentioned, but he's away. I don't think we find out what he does, but whatever it is,
something about an oil rig.
Yeah,
he's away on an oil rig somewhere.
Yeah. So whatever job he does, he's away for extended periods. And there's also sort of alcohol is mentioned as well. He might have a little bit of an alcohol problem. So anyway, she draws him in the picture, and then he appears in his dream as sort of this blind sort of person that's trying to get her. It's weird, is what I'm getting at. That's it, really. That is the kind of the plot. This boy called Mark. When she speaks to the doctor, this doctor's also got another patient who's not doing very well. A young boy of a similar age, and then she finds out, oh, he's called Mark as well. So then she's like, hold on, is this boy in my dream house the same boy in real life? It all gets a bit strange. And as sort of things deteriorate in this fantasy world, so this boy in real life deteriorates as well. So again, it's weird.
It is weird. I mean, it's so this was I kind of mentioned doing this one. And I thought I'd seen it, but when I watched it, I hadn't seen it.
No.
So I'm not sure what film I was thinking of. I mean, I think this is it's one of those films. I think we've mentioned before. I remember, we have memories of going into the video shop when we were young and renting out videos, and I always remember the poster for this one because it's got quite an iconic poster. I mean, it's the house that is in her dream fantasy world features on the cover on the poster, and it's quite an iconic looking building. So I know I remember it from that, but I clearly hadn't seen it ever. And it's a strange one. So it's directed by Bernard Rose, who famously went on to do Candyman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably his most famous film. Can you name any others he did?
I think he did Ivan's XTC,
which I've not seen. My brother saw it and he said it's really good.
Yeah, I thought this and Candyman quite a similar visual style. I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I
completely different films.
They're very different films.
I thought, this looks like. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks like Candyman, visually.
I mean, I thought this one to me reminded. I mean, I don't entirely. Obviously, we won't do spoilers. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Why it's going on? I mean, it's got some quite creepy stuff in there. When it gets creepy, there's a couple of moments. There's a moment on. She talks about taking a photograph of her father on the beach.
Yep.
And then you see this kind of flashback stroke nightmare of it, and something happens, which is quite. It was quite a startling moment. That stayed with me for a few minutes after. I found visually it kind of reminded me of Hellraiser, actually.
That too, yeah.
Which I thought, especially like with the room, but it's like this attic room.
Yeah.
Very empty attic room.
Floorboards.
Or as it feels quite like the loft or the attic in Hellraiser. And there was a bit of the tone of it felt a little bit like that, kind of dream-like. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in in like the real life of Hellraiser, you're never quite sure, are we in a dream world or are we not? And to me, the tone of Paperhouse felt a lot like Hellraiser at times, and the colours as well. It's kind of it's quite
dreary, a lot
dreary,
of it, isn't it?
yeah, and it's odd. I mean, I to me it was interesting as you went into the darker stuff, and there's a couple of moments which get quite dark, and I thought we were actually going to go into maybe like child abuse territories, but I don't think we do.
No,
and it's almost like the visuals are darker than the actual story, and so I didn't quite see where it was going. I think it's an interesting piece, and I think it's got some interesting ideas. It was actually based on a book, and it was a TV mini-series of it in the 70s.
Oh, right. Was
called, is it Enter the Night or Into the Night? I can't remember what it was called. It's strange. You can buy it. A network released it.
Right.
But they've got only a black and white. The colour transfer of it has been lost.
Oh, okay.
They've only got a black and white version of it.
Weird.
For some reason. So, and it was based on an original story as well. So I've never read the story, so I can't really say. But I think it's got a Hans Zimmer score, which is quite interesting, quite eerie, like quite a synthy early score by him, which I think fits it. I mean, it's an odd piece.
Yeah,
it's just odd. And then you got Glennie Headley in, the American actress who we spoke about before in 2 Days in the Valley.
Yep.
So in the film, she's an American actress, but she's speaking with a British accent. But apparently, she spoke with an American accent, and in 2 days before they released the film, they were like, "Oh, actually, she should have a British accent." Yeah. So she redubbed the whole film in a British accent, which makes her voice is dubbed.
Yeah.
But so that itself makes it feel a bit weird.
It's strange. I mean, I liked it. I like the aesthetics, and like we said, the music, and I thought the two kids, they carry most of the film really. I mean, neither of them really did anything else after this, so which was a shame. But I'm not saying that I need everything in all films to be explained. But there's nothing in this film that explains anything that's going on.
It doesn't,
it's just, I drew a house and then it appears in my dreams and things happen. And it's like, I don't know. And I can go with that to a point, but then it doesn't really, like you say, you feel like it's going down a certain path, but it doesn't go on that path. It just seems to be this sort of connection between these two kids that have never met in real life. But the whys or wherefores are just never explored at whatsoever. Has she got some sort of psychic connection to him, or what? Don't know. Doesn't. It's never really explored.
And we won't do spoilers, but the ending doesn't really explain it too much. It's all
it's still kind of left a bit open as to what what the hell's going on. Basically, it's not. It's not like it's confusing or difficult to follow. You know when you're in the real world most of the time. You know when you're in the dream world most of the time. But it's how these things connect and what sort of point of it all is kind of left hanging.
Yeah,
really.
that's
So from I think everything else, I appreciate. Like I said, the visuals and the score and the acting, for the most part, is perfectly fine. But I'm on board with weird films. Like we've mentioned, Hellraiser and Candyman, they both have weird stuff going on, but it's explained. For the most part, why these things are happening or how they're happening.
Yeah,
I can go with demons coming from hell in a puzzle box and things like that because it's explained. This is the puzzle box. This summons them, etc., etc. There's nothing like that in this. It's not like she picks up a magic pencil or something like that. It's just something as simple as that would say, okay, I can go with that. That's why this is happening.
Which is why to me, had it gone down a kind of, I mean, there's like we said, there's kind of ideas that maybe the father's alcoholic, but then you see the father and he's quite nice to her, and there's no trauma there at all. But had it maybe gone down a child abuse.
Well, that again, that would kind of explain it a bit more. It would
explain a bit why she's so.
It's all in her head and it's trauma, etc., etc.
Trauma and all that kind of stuff.
Unless she just really misses him a lot, I don't know. But it's not like she's from a particularly dysfunctional family. I mean, at the start, when she has obviously, like we said, when she's sort of pretended to be ill and then admits that, her mother is quite annoyed with her. But as any parent would be, it's like you've maybe come and get you from school and then you've faked being ill. But they don't, they do have a bit of an odd relationship. it's not an abusive relationship. It's not a horrible relationship. It's just a bit odd in some scenes, I think. But whether that's down to just, I don't know what it's down to. I don't know, but no, there's no, like I said, there's certain odd things about it, but nothing that would really say, okay, that's what's causing these, this delusion or whatever. Is it all in her head, or is it some sort of psychic connection, or is it magic or something supernatural? Don't know. It could be any of those things. Maybe that's the whole point. It's just whatever you want it to be, and I guess that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting one. It's because it's one that it's one that visually I know the poster. It's one. It's like it's got Paperhouse as a famous name. Obviously, it's Bernard Rose. So I'm quite interested actually if what I'm missing.
I think it does have a bit of a sort of cult following.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, what is it that I'm missing from this film, because it didn't totally work for me.
I think some of the stuff I read, people talking about it, a lot of them had seen it as children. So I think maybe they connect it because it's about kids. Yeah, and it's not, it does have a couple of scary moments in it, but there's no gore really, is there?
No.
I think maybe they connected with it as children, and it's just one of those films that if you didn't see as a kid, maybe you don't appreciate it in the same way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, a lot of those, the great films that I grew up with. And again, I mean, because I never really watched many British kid films. All my films that I watched as a child were American. So, Back to the Future, Goonies, Lost Boys, Explorers, Flight of the Navigator. All these great films were, I watched with the American lot.
Yeah.
I never really did the British stuff. Although we didn't do many films with kids in, so it was quite unusual. So that's probably why. We had a lot of TV stuff. In fact, at one point I did think I was watching Grange Hill when they were in the school bit. I kept thinking of the Grange Hill music, weirdly. So we had TV stuff.
Yeah.
And we had some good TV stuff as well, actually. I mean, if you could maybe compare this to anything, you grew up in the 80s. I remember things I liked was like Box of Delights, which was a really good show. Do you remember that?
Rings a bell, but I don't really remember what
the TV was. I think it was based on a book or a series of books, and it's a really weird. And the BBC did it, and obviously we had Doctor Who. We got some great shows like that. Tom's Midnight Garden was one I loved as a child. So lots of great kind of fantasy TV stuff. But films, we never really. We did kind of the gritty. We did the gritty older, like the Mike Lees and the Ken Loaches and that kind of gritty realism that we do so well over here.
Lots of those films were made over here, like all the American fantasy stuff.
Oh, they were made over here, yeah, but they were kind of essentially American films, weren't they? Yeah, I think maybe for films, British films, we didn't do many of, or they were more in the horror vein and the darker fantasy stuff that obviously maybe didn't see until you were older. So yeah, maybe you're right. If you were younger when you saw this, it may have had a different effect on you. I think definitely. I think it's got some interesting stuff in there, but for me, it didn't totally work.
I liked it. I think I would have liked a bit more. Not explanation, but just I don't know. It was just missing something for me. But no, there's certainly a lot to like about it, and. Like I say, if you like those horror films, it's not really a horror film, but it definitely has the sort of aesthetics and sensibilities of a horror film.
Because I felt Hellraiser Territory, which that is a straight up horror film, whereas this isn't, but it has similar, I suppose, surreal, strange worlds, which can often be linked to horror fiction.
If you appreciate those, I think you definitely get something out of it.
Yeah, definitely. So we don't have it on DVD. We picked this because we've run out of DVD. No, we picked this because it's on Amazon Prime, and that's the thing that we both have.
Yeah.
So that's where this is available. I think it's available on. You can pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray.
You can. I mean, it's not released in many places. There was a Blu-ray in France a few years ago. It doesn't appear to be a Blu-ray anywhere else that I can find, and there's a DVD in the UK, obviously over 10 years ago now, but that can be found reasonably cheaply, and I think DVD in the US as well. So it's not, if you haven't got Amazon, then you can find it if you want to watch it.
So that was Paperhouse, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications. There's some other videos to check out over there, and come and join us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And come back next week for another video.